Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are both delighted and privileged to have all of you here today, especially a couple of our luminaries who are here to grace the occasion. The first one to whom we would like to express our sincere gratitude is to the leading luminary of the cinema industry, Ms. Sonam Kapoor. Sonam, thank you very much for being here today. As always, we find you very, very cooperative, always finding the time for this cause and supporting us from the bottom of your heart. Our heartfelt thanks also to Mr. Mahesh Krishnamurthy, who was our first founding member of the Fight Hunger Foundation. And he has consistently found time and has put in huge effort for the organization and for the cause of eradicating malnutrition from the face of our country and the earth. Most of all, we are grateful to each and every one of you. And that is because every day of your lives, you are bringing those live stories in front of the public, in front of the people at large, and in front of the authorities. And it is that work which all of you do, which actually supports the cause of malnutrition and makes sure that eventually no child shall die of hunger in our worthy land. When we look at rural and urban India, there are about 20 million children who are undernourished. Of these 20 million, at least 6 million children are severely and acutely malnourished, which means they are in grave danger of dying. And of these 6 million, 1 million children between the age of 0 and 5 die every year. Now, it's a shame for all of us. And the sad part is that of these 6 million severely and acutely malnourished children, SAM children as we call them, only 1% have access to the facilities which can save their lives. Whether it is by way of food, by way of beds, by way of hospital care, by way of all kinds of things, treatment and so on, it is only 1% that have access to this whole thing. Now, if we carry on like this, the estimate is that in the next 15 years, just the economic loss, forget the brain power loss, the other losses, and the human being loss and so on, but just the economic loss of this whole thing is likely to be $46 billion over the next 10 to 12 years. That's a huge economic loss which we could well do without. Now, why does this severe acute malnutrition occur? This occurs because of a variety of reasons. One, there could be a food shortage. There could not be the right mix of foods. You know, they say that you must have a balanced diet, so that balance does not exist. Lack of water, lack of clean water, for example, equally lack of hygiene, and a whole slew of factors that determine why this happens. And our endeavor is to start working with the mother and child combination from the stage of the pregnancy itself, from the stage of lactation and so on, and move right up to the age of 5 so that no child falls into this trap of malnutrition. If we look at Maharashtra itself, our doorstep, there are more than 1 million SAM children. And out of these, I think 127,000 of these children are in the city of Mumbai, in our own district. You know, we don't see them every day. Some of them may be in Dharavi, some in Govandi, some in neighboring areas also. So I think it's very important for us to recognize that this is an issue which is right at our doorstep. And for rectifying this situation, the Fight Hunger Foundation was started a few years ago under the able guidance of Professor Swaminathan, who was the person who instituted the agricultural revolution in India. He is more than 80 years old. But his zeal, his fervor with which he guides us, with which he tells us about things to do, is just truly amazing. And I think that is where we draw our inspiration from. But as we have moved forward, we've achieved a lot of milestones. We have a very, very illustrious board, which guides the whole organization. On top of that, the NGO works in multiple ways, using advocacy, using research, using product, and using, to save lives on the ground. And I think that is where we make such a huge difference. In order to eradicate this whole thing, I think a collective effort is required from a lot of people. And we have chosen to work alongside the government at every level, whether it is the city government, the state government, the national government, and all the other people who are involved in this process. So, as an example, we work with Anganwadi workers, with Asha workers, all kinds of people, so that, it is a collective effort. Collective with the people of India, collective with the media, collective with the government authorities, and everybody else. So, what is our short-term objective? Of course, the long-term objective, because we as Indians had signed up to the Sustainable Development Goals of the world, and under that, we want to try and see a hunger-free world by 2030. So that is the long-term goal. But in the very short term, I think in the next 2 years, we want to touch within India, I think 1.5 million families where there is malnutrition, and make sure that is eradicated, and alongside take about 160,000 children and make sure that they will not be malnourished, they will go on to lead normal, healthy adult lives. I think this is where we count on great support from people like Sonam, people like Mahesh from the industry, various industries, from the media, and from the people at large. So thank you very much for all your support, and we look forward to working with you in the coming years to make this dream a reality. Thank you very much.
We work on cross-thematic issues, and like we said, undernourishment cannot be just addressed by providing nutrition. You need to have an integrated approach. So the whole theory of change that Fight Hunger Foundation works around is working on water, sanitation, and hygiene, preventive care, clinical support, without poverty and livelihood as an agenda to address within the integrated approach. This cannot be catered, and that is how the whole theory of change with Fight Hunger Foundation works. So it's an integrated approach. We work on wash, maternal care, preventive practices, food security, and livelihood in the long run as an integrated approach to cater undernourishment. Now, how do we do it? There is a strong base of research which provides us the empirical evidence. It gives us the scientific evidence to create an impact, to understand where the innovation should come from and where the action would lie. So for us, that's the basis for need generation, evaluation of what we want to do and how we want to carry forward. The second important factor to cater to undernourishment is to diagnose where the children are, who the children are, and what gravity of undernourishment are they suffering, and taking it forward, treat them, refer them to the undernutrition centers or malnutrition treatment centers, or NRCs as they are called, and again, once they are clinically treated, brought back to the community, and a community mechanism evolving to cater to these children so that there is no relapse happening under these children, and the children remain healthy. So for this to happen, there are two important elements. We have to build competencies of the service providers, which is the government functionaries, the service providers, the A&M, the ASHAs, the auxiliary nurse midwife that people spoke about. At the same time, we have to build accountability in the community. There is always a supply and demand that we need to create. So the accountability in the communities is foster parenting, asking mothers to understand the infant safe practices, the basic practices to take care of the children, and that is how the referral goes on the higher side, the clinical care gets strengthened, and then the foster parenting in the children that would happen at the community level. Now, the important factor is in the treatment, what are the basic elements? So we have already strong partnerships with the universities, We are working with IIHMR in Rajasthan, we are working with Washington University, we have a collaboration with Tata Institute of Social Sciences to develop our monitoring and evaluation mechanisms. At the same time, we are working with the ethics committee at the Sion Hospital, wherein we are not only developing local, nutrient-fortified food solutions for these children to intake and come out of under clinical hardcore, severe acute malnutrition. In the long term, as I told you, the integrated approach, revolves around multi-thematic dimensions of development, which is hunger, poverty, hygiene, sustainability, on all these elements to take the discussion forward. Last but not the least, unless we bring about a sustainable, institutional strengthening in the governance structure, it's going to be extremely difficult task. Now, that is where we build about all the competencies within the government, the technical advisory and support that we provide to the government in not only governance, in managing these whole designs and processes and frameworks that we have created, and taking it down through a hand-holding approach at the community level. Our impacts. If you see, around in the phase 1 in Rajasthan, around 10,000 children approximately were catered, and were out of which 95%, which is a huge percentage to talk about, are completely treated, and that is what we're talking about. I've already spoken about the high density nutrition food that we provide and the trainings that we build upon, and that's the kind of impact we're talking about. In Madhya Pradesh, another area of our intervention, if you see, 25 to 26% of the villages where we were already present are undernourishment free. At the same time, of the 149 villages that we were a part of, 47% of the villages have already shown a decline in undernourishment incidence rates in last 3 to 4 years of our work. And I think that's exemplary. That's a model that we need to demonstrate both on the preventive and the clinical care for people to see and scale and replicate in the country. Now, there will always be nutritional emergencies, and we are all aware, media has brought and highlighted the issue of Palghar, the Mokhada block that we talk about, and we've already responded. Right now, there's a very important intervention happening in Palghar within Mokhada, where the news was covered, and we've already built upon the competencies of the service providers to take on the agenda and start working on the undernutrition cause. At the same time, in next 3 to 6 months, we will already be doing a hardcore intervention in Palghar district within Mokhada to take the cause forward. So this is it, and I would really now try to request Bhami to come on stage.
Okay, great. So I'll continue with the story of Govandi. So as Arish mentioned that we are working in 3 states of India, but I particularly want to drag your attention to a slum which is very close by to where we live. So this is how the Google map looks of the area that we work in. It's the east ward of Mumbai, which is Govandi, and the highlighted areas in red are the 3 slum pockets that we are currently working in. So these 3 slum pockets put together caters to a population of 65,000 people, and we have already screened about 7,000 children who are under 5 years of age. Why is Govandi so special, and why is Govandi so different from other slums of Mumbai? So of course we know that there are high burden slums like Dharavi or Kalwa in Thane, but as you know, Govandi is a dumping ground. So basically garbage from all across Mumbai, basically garbage from everybody's home over here goes to Govandi and it's dumped over there. Ideally garbage should be segregated in the wards itself, but unfortunately it's not happening in Mumbai. And the communities that we are working with, they actually live in proximity of these garbage dumping grounds. So all the population in the area suffers from very high comorbidities like tuberculosis, malaria, dengue, diarrhea are extremely common in this area. And being in a city like Mumbai, where there's so much good hospitals, good doctors, access to healthcare, but unfortunately in this slum, the life expectancy is only 39 years. It's only 39 years. That's a biggest shocking statistics as far as Govandi is concerned. So as you see here on the map, the small area highlighted in red is our intervention area, and we are not very far from the dumping ground, which is right behind. And a lot of population from our project areas are actually working on these dumping grounds as rag pickers. So basically they go to the dumps, they segregate the garbage over there. Basically we don't do dry and waste segregation at household level. So these poor people, they do it for us. And the wages is, they just get 50 to 100 rupees per day. So that's approximately 2,500 to 3,000 rupees per month. Some more statistics on Govandi. This slum, if you see the first picture, usually all the buildings are two-storied and very close to each other. So when you're walking through the passages, it's so dark that your visibility almost goes down to zero. And when one person is walking, you have to literally wait for the next person to come because there is absolutely no way to move around. Of course, sewage and garbage collection is a big problem. The only reason I'm highlighting these statistics here is that one, malnutrition, of course, is a big problem. Health is a big problem. But just imagine a natural disaster like an earthquake in this slum, what would happen? Or a man-made disaster like fire, what would happen and where would these people go? So we conducted a big survey in these three slum pockets, and if you look at this table over here, World Health Organization says that if the levels of wasting, which is low weight for a particular height, is above 15%, it's an emergency. It's a critical emergency. And in Govandi, we found that the percentage was 22.9%, way higher than the critical emergency. So this slum pocket really needs a lot of interventions. So what is our goal for this particular slum and some other projects in Mumbai? We are targeting to treat 10,000 children in Govandi, 2,000 who are severely malnourished and 8,000 who are moderately malnourished. Apart from that, as again I think Ashwini mentioned that it's very important to work with pregnant and lactating women because all the beneficiaries that are in our project right now in Govandi are all born low birth weight. So we have to work with pregnant women. It's not only working with the communities, but sometimes these kids, they need referral. So sometimes even doctors, they don't know how to treat these kids because they have never seen such malnourished children. So we have a big intervention that is going on with Wadia Hospital, Sion Hospital, Rajawadi, where we are training doctors, nurses and dietitians. And right now there is only one center in Mumbai where these severely malnourished kids go, which is Sion Hospital. But imagine, as Ashwini said, there are 127,000 kids who need treatment, and Sion Hospital has 20 beds. So we are trying to come up with more centers where we can refer these kids to. So this is a picture of our outpatient treatment center in Govandi. We call it Mata Va Shishu Kendra. We are referring all the kids to this center, and we have a doctor and a nurse who's taking care of kids over here. And this child is very special to us. This is our first beneficiary, baby Fatima. If you see Fatima's weight, it's 3.6 kilos, and she's 2 years old. So 3.6 is actually birth weight of kids. I mean, good families, kids are easily born with 3.5 kilos of weight. So Fatima at 2 years is 3.5 kilos. And I don't know if you've seen the mid-upper arm circumference. It's the circumference of the arm, which is only 82. It's really the tiniest circumference you'll ever see. So anyways, Fatima is a part of our program now. She's into treatment and she is improving. So right now her weight has increased by almost 500 grams, half kilo. And her muak, I mean the upper arm circumference has also increased. So just one small story from the field. Thomas, I invite you to carry on.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm here as a representative of ACF. ACF stands for Action Against Hunger in French. It's an international organization that has established operations across 47 countries worldwide. And in 2015, we are proud to say that we have been able to reach 15 million people through our programs. We have a strong ambition, which is to scale up the treatment of severe acute malnutrition. The question is, how can we do that? We have developed a strategy for 2016-2020 by which we want to reach 70% of SAM children worldwide to have access to a treatment then by 2020. And we've called this strategy SAM 2020, No Wasted Lives. If we look at the trends, the number of children who are severely malnourished is today at around 16 million worldwide. The number of children who have access to the treatment is only 3.2 million. There's a slight increase that we have been observing over the last 5 years, but it's far not enough. And our objective is to move ahead. Only 20% of children have access today worldwide. We want to reach this 70% of children. How to do that? We have a plan, and this plan has been put together into this SAM 2020, an agenda for scaling up the management of severe acute malnutrition by 2020. And of course, India must be in the picture. India must be part of this agenda. There's 6 points that we need to look at in this agenda. The first one is that SAM, severe acute malnutrition, must be redefined
as a public health priority and not simply as an emergency problem. This is the first step. The second one is to mobilize resources globally and nationally in order to increase the capacities and to be able to support these efforts. Third, the capacity of health staff to manage severe acute malnutrition must be improved. There's a massive network of frontline workers available across India. We mentioned the ASHA, the Angawali workers, the nutrition rehabilitation centers, but there's a huge need of support to develop their skills. So together in India with Fight Hunger Foundation and Action Against Hunger, ACF, we have a combined extensive global and indigenous experience that we have been able to develop over the last 4 years. We have developed assessments, monitoring, and evaluation to ensure proper impact of the to the beneficiaries. We have developed innovations led by scientific approaches to improve efficiency of the interventions again, and we have worked in an integrated manner. Integration is a key to ensure replicability and sustainability of the programs. And finally, we work in partnership, obviously, with state governments in Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, and in other locations, but also with corporates, research institutes, with NGOs, with civil society organizations, in order to ensure this scalability. So thank you very much for your attention, and let's work together with Fight Hunger Foundation, who are the champions in India, to carry on this agenda. And I'm pleased to welcome Mahesh? No? Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. We're very happy to invite Mahesh. Mr. Mahesh Krishnamurthy on stage to please address.
Moral giant, Nobel laureate, and South African President Nelson Mandela once said, "There can be no greater revelation of a society's soul than the way it treats its children." Ladies and gentlemen, based on the statistics shared by Mr. Kakkar and some of the presentations that we've just heard, there is still a very dark stain on India's soul. While we've made considerable progress over the last 30 years on children's issues such as child labor, education, health, or for that matter, nutrition, we still have a long way to go. While India has about 15 to 20% of the world's population, we have almost 40% of the malnourished children in the country. Even our neighbor Bangladesh, which is a far poorer country than India, has a much better track record. As was mentioned, we have about 6 million acutely malnourished children in India, about 1 million die. Whenever we talk about India, these numbers become so large that it's very difficult to get your arms around them. So let me help you understand. The population of Singapore and Norway each is about 6 million, which means that we have the same number of severely malnourished children as either of these countries. The population of Bhutan is a little bit less than 1 million. That means each year there are more children dying in India than the population of Bhutan. If you take our holiest city, Varanasi, it has a population of a little over 1 million. And each year we have almost the population of Varanasi dying for a cause that's entirely preventable. We might think that this is happening only in our poorer states, but today we've seen enough evidence that it's happening in our own city, which is the most prosperous city in the world, in the country, and by some estimates is probably one of the more prosperous cities in the world. Now let's remember that each of these children that are dying has a name, they have parents, they could have grown up to be a good student, a productive citizen, and who knows, a parent, maybe even a mathematician like Srinivas Ramanujan, a cricketer like Sachin Tendulkar, or a shuttler like PV Sindhu, who's brought great credit to the country recently. Each of these deaths causes immense pain to their families, and what is truly tragic is that most of them are preventable at a low cost, and each of these deaths represent a failure on our part, who are some of the most prosperous citizens in this country, and once again represent a stain on our country's soul. Let me tell you a little bit about why my firm decided to support Fight Hunger Foundation and the role corporates can play in this good fight. I still remember my first meeting with FHF. I was responsible for the CSR program at India Value Fund, a local private equity firm. We had felt that there was limited awareness of second generation problems like environment and governance, and had focused our giving there instead of first generation causes like hunger, education, and health. However, when we heard the FHF presentation, we immediately decided to support them. The reasons are as follows. We had assumed that while India has poverty, it had moved beyond its most extreme manifestations. Some of the pictures we saw reminded one of the Bengal famine and not of a picture from the India in the 21st century. We had thought that because we have plenty of food, we have strong government programs like the PDS and NREGA, that these were no longer issues in India, and we were absolutely shocked by the message that FHF gave us. Second, FHF is basically the only foundation in the country exclusively dedicated to the task of fighting child malnutrition, and it benefits from the know-how and knowledge of its partner and sponsor ACF. And as Thomas mentioned, ACF has been working in this area for over 30 years, works in over 45 countries, and touches almost 15 million children each year. Now, most good quality NGOs in India, and there are many of them, have their hearts in the right place, but few have the knowledge and ability to scale to make a real dent in the problem. We need to help not thousands or tens of thousands of children, but millions of children. And for that, you need a real professional effort. In India in 2016, I believe, and I hope all of you would agree, that it is unconscionable that children are dying of malnutrition, which is entirely preventable. Any country that aspires to a superpower status cannot have 1 million children dying each year of causes that are preventable. And if, as was pointed out, if diagnosed early, it is almost entirely curable for a price of rupees 5,000 per child. The only thing that is stopping the scale up is money. There are several things that corporates can do to help in this fight, and I'm going to point out 4 things. The first is donate your CSR money to FHF. It's a challenge to spend CSR money effectively, to solve a real problem that has real impact and produce a good return for society. A contribution to FHF achieves and meets all these criteria. For approximately 5,000 rupees, you can cure one child who's likely to grow up to be a productive citizen, perhaps a customer for your products, and maybe even an employee for your company. Even more, as was pointed out, FHF works cooperatively and constructively with governments, and its programs are completely uncontroversial. I mean, what could be less controversial than saving the life of a child? This means that you're actually supporting the government's efforts to solve these problems. Second, you could encourage your employees to contribute to FHF. Most employees in corporate India today can give 5,000 rupees to help a child. And what we have found in our own experience is engaging with NGOs actually improves our employees' understanding of India, which leads us to make better business decisions. Now, if you want to make, you can use your network to encourage the government and other corporates to pay attention to this problem. We keep talking about the demographic dividend in this country, how we have the largest number of young people. Look, we're not going to get a lot of demographic dividend if we don't solve some of these issues, if we don't make investments in some of these issues. Last, if you want to make a bigger commitment than this, you can get involved and help FHF scale. To make a real dent on this problem, FHF needs to raise and spend several hundred crores each year. You can help lead in that direction. Last, I have a request for our friends from the press. You control one of the most powerful organs in our democracy. I hope you will constantly shine light on the darkest corners of this country, because that's the only way we can fix some of these problems and build a country that we can all feel proud of. Last, I just want to leave all of you with one thought. The only future our country has is a future that our children and their children are going to build. My request would be, let's help take good care of them so they build a great future. Let's join FHF in making a small contribution to that future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahesh. I now request Mr. Gopal Mandhania, who is the Director General of Rotary International, who is also supporting Fight Hunger Foundation, to please address us.
Good afternoon, friends. Thank you for inviting me here this afternoon. I represent Rotary International. We have 12 million soldiers working throughout the globe in more than 220 countries. Polio eradication has been one of our major thrust areas. In Mumbai, we have 82 clubs with 5,000 Rotarians. And one of the areas which we work globally is disease prevention and good health for all. And under that, we would like to support Fight Hunger Foundation. We normally do a small beginning, then scale up our project, whatever way we can do it. To begin with, I commit to adopt 200 children this afternoon, and I'm pretty sure in a year's period, we can touch around 2,000 children to be adopted. We are already doing pediatric heart surgery, where we are targeting around 500 to 700 children to be operated. Cost us around 3 to 5 lakhs rupees each, and that it will go parallel with that. Thank you once again, and I congratulate for taking up this very project. We are there with you. Thank you.
Hi everybody. I think everybody said so much on all the statistics and all the numbers and everything. I think I will appeal to everybody, especially the media, on a more human level. Fight Hunger Foundation came to me a couple of months back and showed me photographs and told me all these statistics and spoke to me about this disease that the youth of our country is suffering. It's a whole generation. It's a generational problem, you know. And it was frankly very, very scary. I thought, okay, you know, I want to dedicate some of my time to helping or giving back to society in some way. And I was like, how am I supposed to do that? I thought, let's talk about literacy. Let's think about building roads. Let's think about building toilets. You know, Rakesh Mehra was doing something with toilets. Somebody was building some roads. Someone was talking about, you know, many, many different issues. And, you know, I speak about feminism and health issues and body image issues. And these are all issues that they're generational issues, but something basic like food, shelter, clothing is something that you don't think about, especially when you come from such an affluent background like I do. I've been given everything in life. So when I saw some of these images, I felt like, I don't know, I understood what Gautam Buddha was going through, I think, to a certain extent. And I couldn't understand why this was happening. And I was trying to find a solution, and they came to me with a solution. And I was like, okay, if I become a part of this organization, will it help? If I become a Goodwill Ambassador, will it help? And they said, yeah. And I went to Sion Hospital because I wanted to see for myself, you know, because sometimes when you see photographs and you become desensitized to it. So I went to the hospital and I was very, very, very moved to see parents of young girls, baby girls, who are not even barely 3 months old, 4 months old, fighting for the life of their child. They have no money, nothing. And I was like, there's so much wastage that happens. You know, I don't want to have food. And I'm like, okay, fine, meko nahi chahiye, khana nahi chahiye, aur mujhe ye nahi chahiye. And I felt so I don't know what to say. I felt I felt very small. And I'm trying my very best by supporting this foundation to give back because I've been given so much and we've all been given so much. So I'm not going to tell you the statistics. I'm not going to tell you what everybody else is telling you. I'm just going to ask you to see beyond our small little lives. You know, we watch TV every day. We get into this we're talking about a lot of controversies. I say a lot of stupid things a lot of the times. But these issues are issues that actually, this is a very basic need that a lot of people, look at the numbers. There are 6 million children who are malnourished and there are 1 million dying every day. It's appalling. It's an appalling number for a country like India, and it's an appalling number for a country that wastes so much food. There's so much wastage that happens. So, you know, I think it's time we give back, and I think the support of the media is very, very, very important. And that's why I'm here. I usually make very good copy. People like putting me on in your papers and magazines. So instead of my dresses and sometimes my movies, I think it'd be nice if you guys put this cause in your papers and write about it and put a picture of me with all these amazing people with the Fight Hunger Foundation behind me. And your support and help will be amazing. Tweet about it, put it on social media. You know, donate is 5,000 rupees. It's not much at all. So I think that's basically what I wanted to say. I have like 2 pages of what I wanted to say, but I felt like everybody said so much. I just thought it was better to appeal to everybody on a human level. I'm very, very proud to be a Goodwill Ambassador for Fight Hunger Foundation. I've spoken about LGBT rights, feminism, body image issues, cancer awareness, everything. These are all amazing causes, and they are getting a lot of, a lot of awareness and they make very, very good copy. But talking about malnourishment, I don't know, maybe is not as, I don't know, maybe it doesn't make that great copy. So it's an appeal to say that make it good copy, cover this way more, and spread awareness. That's why I'm here, and I think that's my duty as a Goodwill Ambassador, to appeal to y'all to write about it and speak about it and support it. Thank you so very much for being here and being patient through this whole thing and covering this program. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonam. In case anyone has any questions, we can take 1 or 2 questions. Yes, please. Can someone get her a mic? If you can just introduce yourself, please.
Hello. Hi, Sonam. I am Shweta from BollywoodNazar.com. I would like to ask you, first of all, congratulations for being a Goodwill Ambassador. I was just going through the reports, then I get to know that malnutrition during pregnancy causes the child to have increased risk of future diseases. So we just go through all the figures and all the statistics. Being a Bollywood celebrity, I have seen films, we hardly go through with films जो ऐसे causes को promote करते हैं. तो क्या आप ऐसे causes को promote करते हुए कोई film बनाना चाहेंगी कुछ क्योंकि आपने
Big film. I think there is a video, right? You guys have made.
Yeah.
I think it'll be. I don't know if it's going to be shown now.
Because जो women है Sonam, वो because of lack of knowledge they don't get into all this. They don't know.
Awareness is very, very important. Awareness बहुत important.
And
Ma'am,
हमारी Indian audience film को देखकर
Ma'am, I think you asked your question. We'll just ask her to
That's
answer.
what I want to ask. That
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Would you like to
No, of
make
course.
such
You know, there are so many. Cinema is a very, very. Any art is a very great platform to inspire people to do better. But like when you see the statistics in our country and when you see the sadness and sometimes the poverty and stuff, people go to if they spend 200 rupees or 250 rupees or 50 rupees in smaller towns or 100 rupees in smaller towns and villages and stuff like that, they want to go see color and entertainment and fun and songs and dance because they want to forget about their daily grief, you know. It was a very big, my sister was studying in New York University and they were talking about why Indian cinema is so colorful and why there's so much music and why there's so much dance. But I can also talk about two of my films that did very, very well. One was Prem Ratan Dhan Payo and the other one was Nija. They're both very, very different films and they both released 2 months within each other. And both of them did equally well. I'm not talking about numbers, I'm talking about, you know, the way they did talk about profit. And so it's not like India doesn't want one kind of film or not another kind of film. Anything that is an honest portrayal of what true India is or true Indian people are is what India wants to see. And so I can't answer that question because I just did Prem Ratan and Nija and they were both very, very different films. So I can't be like, oh, we can do this, but I think the country also needs a film like a Prem Ratan or a Sultan, but they also need films like a Nija, which is, there are no songs and no dance, but it speaks about being the best version of yourself. Um, I don't know, but I hope that certain causes are underlined, maybe on a subliminal level or a more obvious level. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, of course, I'm trying my very best. I haven't signed anything yet, but I'm trying.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Hi, this is Ravi Kumar from News Helpline. My question is to Mr. Kapoor. As per the presentation, I have come to know that you work in Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. So, why these three regions? There are many regions in India like Northeast, Odisha, Jharkhand, जहाँ की population ज़्यादातर बहुत ही poverty levels से गुजरती है, तो वहाँ पर आप क्यों नहीं काम कर रहे हैं?
जो हिंदुस्तान के सबसे खराब स्टेट्स हैं in terms of malnutrition, 2 out of those are Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Maharashtra is a little better on that scenario. Of course, Bihar, there are some equally bad, let's say. But, one of the things that we decided to do was to work alongside with the government, not against the government, not independent of the government, and so on and so forth. So we said, जहाँ जहाँ पे सरकार हमारी मदद करेगी, जहाँ जहाँ हम सरकार की मदद कर सकते हैं, कोलैबोरेटिव रिलेशनशिप हो सकता है, तो जिन जिन स्टेट्स ने हमारे साथ MOU साइन की, तो all these 3 states have signed an MOU with us where we work along with the Anganwadi workers, we work alongside the ASHA workers and so on and so forth, and make sure that the impact is the maximum and the largest part of the problem can be resolved. So that is part of the reason why we started with these 3 states, and we are very happy to say that the impact has been truly tremendous, by working with these states.
यानी दूसरी जो स्टेट्स है, इसका मतलब ये है कि दोज पीपल जो गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटीज है, दे आर नॉट अटेंटिव टू दिस कॉज.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. देखिए, कुछ 8-10 साल पहले तक, the whole attitude of the central government and the state governments was, there is no problem in India. This is not an Indian problem because it is a political hot potato. है ना? So people used to say, नहीं, but जैसे जैसे individual incidents आते गए, like the media brought up this whole issue of Palghar now. So similarly in various states, राजस्थान पत्रिका ने कुछ निकाले, मध्य प्रदेश में हुआ, दैनिक भास्कर ने कुछ निकाला, and so on and so forth. So as the issues came more and more to light, the government said, oh my God, we really need to do something about it. And some governments obviously had an easier time to do it. Some governments find it more difficult. Funds, there are so many issues involved in this. And we bring our own funds, we raise our own funds. For example, this evening, we are having a fundraising program where we will be raising funds for this. So, it is a collaborative effort. So, जहाँ जहाँ collaboration maximum मिला, वहाँ हमने 3 states में start कर दिया, of which 2 are the worst affected states. Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh are amongst the 5 most affected states.
चलिए पॉलिटिकल इंटरफेरेंस की बात.
That's what we are doing.
सोनम आपसे सवाल है कि कितना एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा आपका ओवरऑल, और इस कॉज से जुड़ने के लिए आपको बधाई, लेकिन आप कितना खुद जुड़ी और कितने लोगों को बॉलीवुड में आपने जुड़ने के लिए कहा जो आपके फ्रेंड्स हैं?
ऑनेस्टली अगर आप मैं आई एम हियर विद फाइट हंगर फाउंडेशन, मैं बहुत आई थिंक कम महीनों के साथ इनके साथ जुड़ी हुई हूँ. मैं मेरी पूरी कोशिश जारी रही है इनके साथ काम करने में, उनके साथ वीडियोस बनाने में. हॉस्पिटल में साइन हॉस्पिटल, लाइक शी सेड देयर आर ओनली 20 बेड्स, पर मैंने जाके देखा कि वो एक स्पेशल फार्मूला बनाते हैं फॉर malnourished चिल्ड्रन. तो वो फार्मूला कैसे बनाते हैं एंड व्हाई दिस फार्मूला इज नीडेड, बिकॉज many malnourished children cannot eat food. जो खाना हम सब खाते हैं ना, even like a खिचड़ी or anything, they can't digest it because their body is not used to digesting this food. तो ये सब समझने में टाइम लगता है. You know, it's very scientific. There's a lot of research that these people have done, a lot of statistics. तो ये सब मुझे समझना था जुड़ने के बाद, जुड़ने के पहले, कि अगर मैं इस कॉज के साथ जुड़ूंगी तो क्या क्या मुझे करना पड़ेगा. तो ये सब मैंने देखा. तो now it's now up to me to kind of with obviously they have an incredible team of doctors, nutritionists, a lot of scientists, a lot of people from the corporate world that are, you know, investing a lot of money. That whole team is amazing. Even so I think it's just a matter of going forward and going ahead and spreading awareness. And I'm trying my very best by doing this, by going in the evening and being a part of the fundraiser, by visiting hospitals, by creating awareness, giving a little money. I'm doing whatever I can. So let's see what happens. But जैसे उन्होंने कहा कि हमारी आशा यही है कि टाइम और वक्त के साथ things improve, and you know, we see, because eventually this is the future of our country, you know. There are this is it's a generational problem. These are young people, these are young children, these are babies who are the future. I'm 30 years old, and so it's a matter of taking care of your generation, you know. That's basically what it is. It's just to create awareness and try to help as much as I can.
सोनम, जब भी आपका नाम आता है, एक फाइटर की तरह आता है, ऑनेस्ट आप रहती हैं, कभी भी बॉलीवुड में कोई भी चीज़ बोलने के लिए आप नहीं रहती, लेकिन जिसके बाद आपको भी कमेंट्स मिलता है, तो आप किस तरह से डील करती है? हर्षवर्धन में भी यही क्वालिटी देखी गई है, सभी कहते हैं कि आप जो
आपको लगता है कि ये करेक्ट प्लेटफॉर्म है इसके बारे में पूछने के लिए? अगर आपको लगता है कि करेक्ट प्लेटफॉर्म है तो मैं ये क्वेश्चन आंसर करूंगी. आप प्लीज मुझे बताइए, because I'm very very happy to answer all questions related to this cause and on this platform right now, because we've actually given a lot of time and effort to explain to you why this is a very worthy cause for you guys to write about.
Hi, Sonam, रवि कुमार, न्यूज़ हेल्पलाइन.
नमस्ते.
इन्होंने पोलियो का एक एग्जाम्पल लिया था. बच्चन साहब ने 2 बूंद जिंदगी का एक डायलॉग उन्होंने बोला था और काफ़ी फेमस हो गया था, और जिसने हेल्प भी किया था इरेडिकेट करने के लिए पूरा पोलियो का जो प्रॉब्लम है. तो आपको लगता है एक डायलॉग जनरेट करने की बहुत सख्त ज़रूरत है इस कॉज को प्रमोट करने के लिए और इस प्रॉब्लम को इरेडिकेट करने के लिए?
मैं प्रसून सर को फ़ोन करती हूँ, मैं पूछती हूँ अगर वो एक कविता या कोई लाइंस हमारे लिए लिखेंगे. देखते हैं, उन्होंने मुझे बहुत अच्छी लाइंस दी हैं, हम ट्राई करते हैं, क्यों नहीं.
My question is to Mr. Kakkar. Sir, I'd like to know, are you trying to tie up with other governments as well, other than these three? After you have worked with these three, are you trying to tie up with them?
Yes, definitely. The answer is unequivocal yes. In fact, we have dialogues going on with at least 2 or 3 governments, which include Uttarakhand, which include Bihar, which include some of the other states, especially in the north. There are parts of UP, but we haven't been able to have a dialogue with the government in UP yet, and we would like to do that as well. But more importantly, increasing awareness also with the central government. We are in discussions also with the Niti Aayog to say that, you know, long term आप कैसे इस प्रॉब्लम को, हमारा 2030 के गोल को कैसे आप सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं. So, and it is across all party lines, it is across all governments, because we are not in any way, politically aligned, or we have no such agenda at all. We just have a humanitarian agenda, and that is number one, number two, and number 100. So that is the only thing, and we want to see an India which is absolutely hunger-free, malnutrition.
And also, are you trying to tie up with private hospitals like Fortis and Medanta? So probably they will be of good health.
So the first step is to actually go into the village health centers. So that is where we have started. So the first step is going into all the local village health centers, block health centers, district health centers, those kind of places, and we are physically training the Anganwadi workers, the Asha workers. We are training the nurses, and sometimes even supporting the doctors as they want more and more of this material which is peanut based or other based and so on. So one set of things relates to how we can train, how we can access the lowest level where it's furthest from the center. No? And then as we come closer, and as we get closer, now for example Mumbai, Dharavi, we are working in the slums, we are working in Govandi, and so on and so forth. Thane, Kalbe, we have not yet touched on those, but step by step, we are going into various areas, and I think training is one part. The other part is creating the material. So along with Sion Hospital, we work to create a peanut paste, because peanut is the cheapest and the densest material which can actually save lives. And equally with the Ministry of Biotechnology in Delhi, we are working on a soya-based product. So where peanuts are not there, soya may be quite helpful because it's also low cost. So in order to, then we are doing some competitions for machinery, then we are doing some technological, we are building an app. See, up to now you have to measure the circumference of the arm and the length of this bone to derive the ratio which defines malnutrition. Okay, but now we are, along with Instagram, we are trying to build an app which you take a photograph, and the photograph will automatically calculate the ratio, will automatically log it into the computer and collect the data from that district, from that block, from that village, and so on and so forth, and you can identify malnutrition. So there's a lot of work that's going on, but it's very scientific, very structured, and good work along many lines.
Why we
We'll
actually
just take
pointed
this as a
out,
last question, please. Thank you.
So why we pointed out about your partnerships with private sector players is because since you brought up the issue of urban malnutrition, which is very evident in Mumbai. So hospitals from Mumbai itself, like an Hinduja or a Polo coming up, they can provide you infrastructure that you require.
That's right. So what we are doing in Mumbai is, for example, Sion Hospital has already about 20 beds. It used to be 16. We have helped in raising it to 20 beds already. Now there are also child hospital like Wadia Hospital. So we are working along with Wadia Hospital now. So one step at a time. I think as you get to the upper end of the pyramid, there are fewer and fewer people who are affected by malnutrition. The maximum part of the problem is at the bottom of the pyramid. So we are trying to address the largest part of the problem by going to the lowest part of the pyramid and trying to resolve it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Heartfelt gratitude to Sonam. Thank you so much for sparing the time. It has meant a lot to us to have your support. Thank you so much, Mr. Mahesh Krishnamurthy, and we look forward to your continued support. Thank you so much to each of you for having come here. We request you to please join us for some tea. And we're also very happy to announce that the famous playback singer Sonu Nigam has sung a song for us. So I'm going to play that as you enjoy your tea. Thank you so much once again.